down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger.
From now on, you will speak only when spoken to.
You gotta ask yourself a question.
First rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
Movie Magic with Tim Burton, the movie maestro.
Now, this week, we have the pleasure of a Woody Allen film being back on our cinema screens. Absolutely. It's called Midnight in Paris. It's a lovely, warm, romantic comedy set in Paris about a family that goes there because of business, right? And then two young people who are engaged to be married, which include Owen Wilson and Rachel McAdams, have a sort of experience there that changed their lives completely. I mean, it encompasses like time travel, all sorts of things. Now, one of the stars in the film is the charismatic Tom Hiddleston. Fantastic guy. You would have seen him earlier this year as Loki in Thor, and you'll be seeing him very soon with Steven Spielberg, no less, with The War Horse. Can't wait to see that. And I had a lovely chat with Tom earlier in the week. We chatted about Patrick Doyle, actually. Do you remember we did a huge Patrick Doyle tribute earlier this year? Yes, well, he's a fellow Patrick Doyle fan, so it was good to chat about that. And he was also speaking to us about his role in this Woody Allen film, which is quite unique, but I'll let him chat about it.
The Big Screen Review.
I thought we'd give you a nice big intro, though, here. I spoke to Patrick Doyle quite recently, actually. He told me this great story about you meeting randomly in LA.
That is the best intro that I have ever heard in my entire life. Wow.
I'm glad you like it.
Tim, thank you so much.
Not at all, Tim. You're very welcome. How are you?
I'm extremely well. I feel like... I believe that... What track is that? That's Thor Kills the Destroyer, I think.
It is, absolutely, yes.
Patrick Doyle is one of the great men, I think. He's one of the great men of this world, and certainly of the movie world. We had the meeting that I think he's describing is we met right outside the studios of 20th Century Fox after Thor had been out, and I was in a car on my way to LAX airport, and he was on his way somewhere else as well. He'd been, I think, scoring the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Exactly,
and
right.
We were both stood. Well, not our cars were waiting at a red light right outside 20th Century Fox. He wound down the window and said something like, "Oh, you've probably retired now. Good luck and see you in the future," and then sped off into the sunset. And it was just one of those crazy Hollywood moments.
But I believe you had lots of people honking you because you're holding up the traffic.
Yes, we were sat there with our windows down and a sort of a whole trail of cars behind saying, "Who are these people talking to each other? There's a green light. Get on with it. Get on with your lives, please."
No, we're playing Loki and Thor. Obviously, it's been great fun for you. And Tom Hiddleston, it's great to chat. We're talking specifically now about Midnight in Paris.
Yes, indeed, sir.
From Kenneth Branagh to Woody Allen. Now, that's not bad in a year.
It's not bad at all, yeah. There were actually only about 2.5 or 3 weeks between the end of Thor and the beginning of Midnight in Paris.
I mean, this is unbelievable. There's no city like this in the world.
You're in love with a fantasy.
I'm in love with you.
What are you doing here? Dad's here on business, and we just decided to reload along.
Oh, that's great. We can spend some time together.
I think we have a lot of commitments, but I'm sure it's...
What?
If I'm not mistaken, Rodin's work was influenced by his wife, Camille.
Rose was the one.
No, he was never married to Rose.
I hope you're not going to be as antisocial tomorrow.
I'm not quite as taken with him as you are. He's a pseudo-intellectual.
Slightly more tannic than the 59. I prefer a smoky feeling. Carol and I are gonna go dancing. We heard of a great place. Interested?
No.
Sure.
I don't want to be a killjoy, but I need to get a little fresh air.
What time did you get in last night?
Not that late. Yeah, I'll probably end up going on another little hike tonight.
Where'd Gil run off to?
I've been walking around Paris.
Where do you think Gil goes every night?
He walks and gets ideas.
Why are you so dressed up?
I was just doing a little writing.
You dress up and put on cologne to write?
Because you know how I think better in the shower and I get the positive ions going in there?
I had a private detective follow him.
And what happened?
I don't know. The detective agency says the detective is missing.
I'm in a very perplexing situation.
The film is about Owen Wilson. I think very, very brilliantly plays a modern day screenwriter from Los Angeles who writes sort of fairly mediocre scripts for fairly mediocre films, and he's on holiday in Paris with his fiancée, played by Rachel McAdams, and is sort of giddy with delight about the nostalgia trip that he's on, and the fact that he's sitting in cafes where Hemingway must have written notes, and Fitzgerald and Zelda must have hosted a party here, and James Joyce was over there, and he's kind of on his own. His fiance's family aren't really on the same hymn sheet with him about this kind of all this literary history. And one night, sitting on some stone steps beneath a clock tower, an old motor car sidles up the street with these elegantly dressed French couples inside, and they say, "You must get into the car. We are going to a party." And so Owen Wilson, from Right Now, from 2011, gets into the car, and at this party, everybody's dressed like they're from the 1920s, and he sticks out like a sore thumb, and a woman comes up to him and says, "You look lost." And he's like, "Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know where I am." And she says, "What do you do?" And he says, "I'm a writer, a writer from California." And she says, "Oh, my husband's a writer. I'm Zelda, by the way. Scott, come over here." And lo and behold, he is talking to F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald. And Owen Wilson has gone back in time to the golden age, the roaring 20s, the jazz age, the time that he wished he'd lived in which these young artists, who then became legends in a way, were just rubbing shoulders and throwing parties and eating together and sleeping together. And it's Fitzgerald and Hemingway and Picasso and Gertrude Stein and Dali and Man Ray and Louis Buñuel, and Owen Wilson's character just can't believe his eyes.
You look lost.
Oh, yeah. You're an American?
If you count Alabama as America, which I do. I'm Mr. Bathtub Gin. What do you do?
Me, I'm a writer.
What do you write?
Well, right now I'm working on a novel.
Oh, yes? I'm Zelda, by the way.
All right.
Oh, Scott?
Yeah.
Scott.
Yes,
come
what
over
is
here.
it, sweetheart?
Here's
Sure.
here's a writer from
a
where?
writer.
California.
Scott Fitzgerald. And who are you, old sport?
Gil. The same names as
As what?
Scott Fitzgerald and
Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, the Fitzgeralds. Isn't she beautiful?
yes. Yeah, it's a coincidence.
But it's such a lovely concept, isn't it? And it actually reminded me, do you remember the mid-80s, Tom, the Purple Rose of Cairo?
It's very Purple Rose of Cairo, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I just love that, because I remember that film with so much affection. It was so individual of its time.
Yeah. I think Woody's got an incredible, unique artistic fingerprint. When I saw the film, I thought this only really could come out of Woody's brain. Even in his stand-up, I believe, when he was doing stand-up as a younger man in New York, he was constantly talking about Hemingway and saying, when I was at school, Hemingway was this guy we were all supposed to be, and it's all about boxing and hair on your chest and being macho, and why does that make me? He was someone who set his own persona up against this idea of the American man, or Hemingway's idea of the American man. So I think Woody has a lot of fun with that in this film.
But visually as well, there's so much, apart from the artwork of the film, obviously derived from Picasso, and I love that poster. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Isn't it wonderful? Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And that would look quite nice framed, I'm sure, in your living room.
I haven't got it framed in my living room, but I'll work on it. Yeah.
We can arrange that if you like. But yes, and I think with the whole, I suppose Woody Allen very famously loves New York, but recently he seems to be sort of moving his affection to certainly Europe and Paris, like Vicky Cristina Barcelona. I mean, that was a great film.
It was a great film, really wonderful film, that I thought, yeah. I think one of the things is he's very, very popular in Europe, and
well, that's true, yeah.
And also he loves it. I think he loves the sophistication of it, and he loves the history and the kind of the respect for the fine arts. I think that we have in Europe, which I think is possibly not quite so prevalent in America as a big country. I mean, of course you find it on the East Coast and the West Coast. But he loves the sophistication of the continent, and also I think European financiers will also allow him to make films in the way that he likes to make them. There's a strange thing that's happening in America where I think that big studios won't necessarily back him anymore because they're worried about not getting a decent return on their dollar. So in a way, I love that Woody's gone, okay, I'll just ask the Spanish guys if they want to help me out. I'll go make a movie in Paris. It's fine.
That's a good impersonation. I love that.
Yeah, well, I spent some time with him, so yeah, I think it's yielding something very interesting for him. It's showing us a new way of looking at ourselves and showing him a way of looking at the world, I think.
Well, hopefully it'll get recognised for next year's Academy Awards. I mean, I love the story that apparently every year, whenever the Oscars are on, he just plays clarinet in his New York bar or something, which is...
I'm sure he does.
Which is a great story.
He's so removed from all of that sort of Hollywood politicking. I've never met someone so... He has a huge creative integrity like that. It's not about awards or prizes or, it's just he's a filmmaker. And he makes films, and I don't think it bothers him whether he wins or loses or even gets nominated, actually.
No.
A true artist, I would say.
Absolutely. Well, Tom Hiddleston, lovely speaking with you. Mr. Fitzgerald, as in Midnight in Paris, which is at the Queen's Film Theatre in Belfast, and selected cinemas all across Northern Ireland.
Thanks, Tim.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Look at this. There's no city like this in the world. There never was.
You act like you've never been here before.
I don't get here often enough. That's the problem. Can you picture how drop-dead gorgeous this city is in the rain? Imagine this town in the 20s. Paris in the 20s. In the rain, the artists and writers.
Why does every city have to be in the rain? What's wonderful about getting wet?
I mean, could you ever picture us maybe moving here after we're married?
Oh, God, no. I could never live out of the United States.
If I'd stayed here and written novels and not gotten, caught up in that just grinding out movie scripts, I'll tell you something, I would drop the house in Beverly Hills, the pool, everything in a second.
Movie Magic with Tim Burton, the movie maestro.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tom.
My pleasure. That was an astonishing way to start. I was deeply moved and flattered.
Oh, not at all. I thought you'd like that because I know you're a fellow Patrick Doyle fan.
I am, indeed.